We here. This is the building officially where she fell from. And we just posted up. I want to say rest in peace to Tabitha. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like, the way this happened, everything that went on is bogus, and she did not deserve this. Be very mindful of who you leave your kids with. Do not leave your kids with just anybody. You never know the message that they relay to them. Please.
That woman, that was Tabitha Tanner. She recorded that video herself. She was talking to her community the way she always did, because that is just who she was. And 2 months after she recorded it, she was dead. On the night of July 7th, 2022, an exterior camera on North Magnolia Avenue in Chicago captured something that investigators said stopped them cold the moment they saw it. At 10:59 that night, a woman went through a 5th-floor window, and 3 minutes later, the man who was with her in that apartment walked out of the building, stood directly over her body, looked at what he had done for 17 seconds, and then turned around and went back inside. 17 seconds. No phone call, no panic, no emotion at all, just 17 seconds of standing there. And then, nothing. Now I want you to hold that image in your mind as I tell you this whole story, because the 17 seconds is not just the most disturbing detail in this case. It tells you everything you need to know about who Tyson Tillman really was and how long he had been that person. And then I want you to think about something else. Tabitha Tanner had no idea who she was actually dealing with. Not because she was not paying attention, but because Tyson Tillman had spent months making sure she would never find out. That is what this story is really about. Not just what happened that night on the 5th floor, but what happens when someone builds an entire relationship on a foundation of lies and then has to decide what to do when those lies finally catch up with them. Before we get into it, please take a second to like this video, drop a comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell too. These stories deserve to be heard, and your support is what makes that possible. Now let me take you back to the beginning. Tabitha Delane Tanner was born on December 6, 1988 in Chicago, Illinois. She grew up on the South Side, raised primarily by her mother Antoinette. She kept a relationship with her father Ben, but home was not always easy. Money was tight. Stability was something the family had to fight for constantly. But from early on, Tabitha had something that a lot of people who grow up in hard circumstances never fully hold on to. She had direction. She wanted to be a nurse, not because someone told her to, because she genuinely wanted to take care of people. That was her goal, and she was working toward it the real way, not looking for shortcuts, not waiting for something to fall into her lap. Retail during the week, weekend shifts at a neighborhood diner, saving every tip, every spare dollar, building toward nursing school one shift at a time. Her coworkers remembered someone completely dependable, the kind of coworker who covered shifts when others called out, who remembered regulars by name, who made the job feel a little less hard just by showing up the way she did. Her Instagram showed you a woman who found genuine joy in small things. A perfect cup of coffee, the Chicago skyline at dusk, her collection of vintage costume jewelry. She was not performing for an audience. She was just living and sharing it. Her Facebook was a bolder side of her. She had pictures alongside notable names. She had energy that drew people in. The kind of woman you meet once and remember. And that is what the people who actually knew her said over and over again. She made people feel seen. She had a warmth about her that filled whatever room she walked into. She was the kind of friend who showed up, who checked in, who remembered the things you told her in passing. But there was one thing about Tabitha that the people closest to her had quietly noticed over the years. She had a tendency to see the best in people, even when the people around her were already seeing something very different. She was forgiving in a way that sometimes worked against her. She believed that if you gave someone enough patience, enough grace, enough of yourself, they could become who they were supposed to be. She always saw the best in people, a friend later told investigators, even when the rest of us saw red flags. That was not a character flaw. That was just who Tabitha was. And it was that same quality, that openness, that genuine belief in people, that brought her to a birthday party in early 2022 where she met a man named Tyson Tillman. What she could not have known that night was that the man sitting across from her, asking about her nursing school dreams, listening to her talk about her goals, was already living a life built entirely on lies, and had been for a very long time. To the people who passed him in the hallway on North Magnolia Avenue, Tyson Tillman was just a neighbor, 38 years old, quiet, kept to himself. But his record told a completely different story. 8 felony convictions going all the way back to 2003. Nearly 2 full decades of cycling in and out of the criminal justice system. Drug-related offenses mostly, possession and distribution. The kind of record that shows you someone who had been in a loop for a very long time and had never found a way to break out of it. Arrest, conviction, release, repeat, 8 separate times. Now, here's what stands out when you look at that record closely. None of those 8 convictions involved violence against another person. Nothing in that file pointed toward what was coming. Nothing that would make a neighbor uncomfortable. Nothing that would make a woman feel unsafe sitting across from him at a birthday party. And that is exactly how certain people stay dangerous for as long as they do. They are never what they look like from the outside. But here's the part of Tyson Tillman's story I want you to pay attention to. At the exact moment he met Tabitha at that birthday party in early 2022, he was not a single man. He was in a committed relationship with a woman who was pregnant with his child. A man who was expecting a baby with one woman, sitting at a birthday party showing genuine interest in another woman, building something that feels real with her, while carefully keeping both situations completely separate. Phone records that came out later showed just how calculated this was. Messages sent to both women within minutes of each other. Carefully timed visits, 2 entirely different versions of himself running at the exact same time, and neither woman had any idea the other one existed. To Tabitha, he was attentive, present, the kind of man who actually listened when she talked about what she was working toward. To his pregnant girlfriend, he was the committed father-to-be, working hard, showing up. He had split his entire life down the middle. And for months, it held together. Now, I want to be careful here because I am not telling you this to judge anyone or point fingers in a direction that takes away from what actually happened to Tabitha. I am telling you this because this is the part of the story that explains everything that came after. Because here is the thing about living a double life. It does not just affect the person living it. It creates pressure. The kind that builds slowly and quietly until one day something cracks, and the people closest to you end up paying the price for a mess they did not even know they were standing in the middle of. Tabitha Tanner did not know she was standing in the middle of anything. She thought she had met someone genuine. Meanwhile, friends who were watching from the outside had started noticing small changes in her. She became more private about her relationship. Her new boyfriend seemed to ask detailed questions about where she had been and who she had spent time with. Her social media presence, which had always been warm and open, started to go quiet. The woman who had once celebrated small moments openly was pulling back. In hindsight, those were not small changes, but at the time, they just looked like a woman settling into something new. By July 2022, the pressure on Tyson Tillman was building from every direction. A pregnant girlfriend asking more questions, a second relationship becoming harder to manage, a history that showed someone who had never once handled pressure in a healthy way. On the evening of July 7th, 2022, all of that pressure finally had nowhere left to go. July 7th, 2022 started like any other summer evening in Chicago. 78 degrees outside, people finishing their days, making dinner plans, coming home. Tabitha Tanner had no way of knowing it would be her last. At 10 minutes past 9 that evening, Tabitha approached the building on North Magnolia Avenue. She was dressed casually. She looked relaxed. Nothing about how she carried herself suggested she felt anything other than comfortable going to see someone she trusted. She took the elevator up to the 5th floor, knocked on the door of apartment 5. The door opened and she stepped inside. Whatever that evening was supposed to look like, we will never fully know. What we do know is what happened next. Not long after Tabitha arrived, another woman showed up at that building. Miranda Coleman, Tyson Tillman's pregnant girlfriend. She had not been expected that evening, and her approach was nothing like Tabitha's. She knocked, not gently. Neighbors later told investigators they heard raised voices through the walls, an argument, objects being moved, the kind of noise that makes you stop what you're doing and listen. For approximately 30 minutes, 3 people were inside that apartment. 30 minutes, during which Tyson Tillman was standing in the middle of the complete collapse of everything he had spent months carefully holding together. 2 women in the same room. The lies exposed, the double life over, the pregnancy out in the open, everything crashing down at the same time. And during those 30 minutes, he had a choice. He could have told the truth. He could have let both women walk out of that apartment hurt and angry and done with him, which honestly would have been the right outcome. But Tyson Tillman did not make that choice. At 10:59 that evening, Tabitha Tanner went through the 5th floor window. She fell 5 stories. The impact was immediate and fatal. 3 minutes later, at 11:03, Tillman walked out of the building's back exit. He walked to where Tabitha had landed in the alley below. He stood over her for 17 seconds. Then he turned around and went back inside. No call for help. No attempt to do anything at all for the woman who had trusted him. Just 17 seconds of standing there, and then the door closed behind him. Tabitha's body stayed in that alley through the rest of the night and into the early morning hours, alone. It was not until 6:11 the following morning that a passerby found her and called for help. Emergency responders arrived quickly, but there was nothing left to do. The Cook County medical examiner pronounced Tabitha Tanner dead at 6:30 that morning. She was 33 years old. The medical examiner's findings were clear. The injuries were consistent with the height from which she had fallen. And there was also evidence that a physical altercation had taken place inside that apartment before she went through that window. She had not fallen. She had been thrown. When Chicago police arrived at North Magnolia Avenue and started pulling the pieces together, the case was already building itself without any help from Tyson Tillman. Building surveillance footage from multiple angles, forensic evidence from inside apartment 5, neighbor accounts of exactly what they had heard through the walls, a timeline that pointed in one direction without any room for interpretation. When detectives brought Tillman in for questioning, his story shifted multiple times in the first few hours alone. First, Tabitha had never been at his apartment that night. Then, when the surveillance footage made that impossible to hold on to, he acknowledged she had visited, but said she had left safely before anything happened. When investigators pressed him on the timeline, on Miranda Coleman's arrival, on the pregnancy, on the forensic evidence inside the apartment, he went vague. Evasive. He had nothing useful to offer. Meanwhile, forensic teams were going through apartment 5 carefully and methodically, evidence of a physical struggle. Blood evidence near the window. DNA placing all 3 individuals in that space during the critical window of time. And the surveillance footage covered everything. Every arrival. Every departure. Including Tyson Tillman walking out of that building at 11:03, standing over Tabitha's body in the alley for those 17 seconds, and going back inside like he had just checked on something and decided it was not his problem. Investigators did not need Tillman to tell them what happened. The building had already told them everything. Within 48 hours of Tabitha's death, Tyson Tillman was formally charged with first-degree murder. The trial drew significant attention across Chicago. Tillman's defense attorney, Marcus Webb, built his case around mental health and history. He argued that Tillman had a long history of untreated mental illness, that substance abuse had compounded those issues over many years, and that what happened on July 7th was a moment of lost control, rather than something calculated. The surveillance timeline, the forensic evidence, the physical injuries consistent with being thrown rather than falling, the 17 seconds, the walk back inside, the shifting story in the interrogation room, and throughout all of it, the consistent picture of a man who had shown zero remorse from the moment Tabitha hit the ground to the moment he sat in that courtroom. The jury was not convinced by the defense. Tyson Tillman was found guilty of first-degree murder. At sentencing, the judge described his actions as cruel and cowardly. 60 years. For Tabitha's family, the verdict brought some measure of closure. But anyone who has ever lost someone the way they lost Tabitha knows that a verdict is not the same as okay. It is never the same as okay. It just means the person responsible is being held accountable. And that matters, but it does not bring her back. I want to talk about something that does not always come up when people discuss this case. Because most of the conversation around what happened to Tabitha Tanner focuses on the violence, on the 5th-floor window, on the 17 seconds. And those things matter, and they deserve to be talked about. But the thing that has stayed with me since I first went down this rabbit hole is something that happened long before July 7th. Tyson Tillman was living a double life. He had a pregnant girlfriend at home, and he was building what felt like a real relationship with Tabitha at the same time, and he kept both situations going for months without either woman knowing the other existed. Now, I am not here to judge anyone's personal life. That is not what this channel is about. But I do want to say this, as plainly and as carefully as I can. When someone is willing to look another person in the face every single day and build something with them that they know is not real, that kind of deception does not stay small forever. It grows. It requires more lies to hold up the first lies. It creates pressure that has nowhere healthy to go. And the people who get hurt by it are almost never the person doing the deceiving. Tabitha Tanner had no idea she was in the middle of a situation that was never going to end well. She was just a woman who met someone she thought was genuine and gave him her trust the way she gave everyone her trust. And when the other woman showed up at that door on July 7th, and everything that Tillman had been hiding came out into the open all at once, Tabitha was in that room. Not because she did anything wrong, but because she trusted someone who had been lying to her from the very first day they met. That is the part of this story that I think deserves more conversation than it gets. Because Tabitha is not here to tell her side of it. She never got the chance to process any of what was happening that night. She never got to walk away from it, which is what she deserved to do. She deserved to find out the truth, feel the anger and the hurt that comes with being deceived, and walk away with her life ahead of her. Instead, she walked into an apartment that was already a ticking clock without knowing it. Now, Chicago is a city that deals with this kind of loss at a scale that is hard to fully absorb. The Chicago Police Department responds to approximately 500 domestic violence calls every single day. In 2022 alone, more than 35 people lost their lives in domestic violence-related incidents across the city. Tabitha was not an isolated case. She was part of a pattern. And Tyson Tillman's record made that pattern impossible to ignore. 8 felony convictions across nearly 2 decades. 8 separate moments where the system had the opportunity to assess whether this man was getting anything that might actually interrupt the cycle he had been locked in since 2003. Arrest, conviction, release, repeat, until July 7th, 2022. Advocacy groups used Tabitha's case to push for stronger domestic violence prevention resources, for mental health screening at every stage of the criminal justice process, for risk assessment to be a standard part of release decisions, not an afterthought. These are not abstract conversations. They are conversations about real people, about what it costs when those conversations do not happen soon enough. I want to go back to that video Tabitha recorded herself.
First, I'd like to say we need to start instilling qualities in each other, because it starts with us as adults in order to raise the queens and kings of tomorrow. And we need to just conquer jealousy. Come on, it's just not fair. It's not right to each other. It's not humane to do something like that. We can't just walk all over each other and expect to sustain unity. It's just not going to work like that. Please get it together. Also, this poor education thing, come on. Like, we need to educate ourselves and try to do something. So what, you're going to go to jail? What is your plan? You're going to go to jail, or you're going to jail, or you're going to, like, something bad is going to happen. What fate do you have without an education, or without, what are you going to do? Are you going to go to the army? Are you going to open a business? Are you going to, like, what are you going to do? Are you going to try to find a job? Are you, like, think of long term, think of longevity. What are you going to do to manifest a healthy lifestyle? Like, come on. What do you think is going to happen? And I would like to say, okay, this is a big one. So it's a lot of young kids that are not, it's a lot of babies, our babies, that are not talking when they should talk. And so now the parents get mixed messages. The mom doesn't even know if the baby needs to tell her something that's going on, or, like, what's up. You have to stop with the poor grammar and teaching your kids. You have to start teaching them how to talk soon. And if they're not talking on time, welfare definitely offers. Get to your local welfare office and ask for some info. They offer free speech therapy, so please look into it. It is so important. Please look into it. Also, be very mindful of who you leave your kids with. Do not leave your kids with just anybody. You never know the message that they relay to them. Please. Remember, get to your local welfare office for info on free speech therapy. Thank you so much. God bless.
She was talking about unity, about education, about protecting children, about the kind of world she wanted to live in and the kind of community she wanted to be part of building. And she said something that I keep coming back to every time I think about this case. She said, be very mindful of who you leave your kids with. Do not leave your kids with just anybody. You never know the message that they relate to them. She said that on camera. About protecting people, about being careful, about paying attention. And 2 months later, someone she trusted proved that he was not who she thought he was, in the most permanent and devastating way possible.
5, 3, 2, 1. What about Lily? Love you, Tab. Rest in peace, baby.
The people who loved her showed up for her the way she always showed up for everyone else. Because that is what Tabitha did. She showed up every time. Tabitha Tanner, December 6, 1988 to July 7, 2022. 33 years old. Daughter. Friend. Someone who was working towards something real and had every reason to believe she was going to get there. She deserved so much more than what happened to her on that July night in Chicago. And the reason I wanted to tell this story the way I told it, not just as a case file but as a person, is because Tabitha was very clear about what she believed in. She believed in people. She believed in community. She believed in honesty and accountability and taking care of each other. The man who took her life believed in none of those things. He proved that long before July 7th. If this story made you feel something, please share it. Put it on your page. Send it to someone who needs to hear it. Because the more people who know Tabitha's name, the more her life means something beyond what happened to her. Drop a comment before you go. I want to know what you think about this case, about the system, about the choices that were made, about any of it. Like this video, subscribe to Deadly Outcomes, hit the bell so you never miss a story. Rest easy, Tabitha. Your community has not forgotten you.